Hello. Now, today we've got a very special movie. Now, before I get into the movie, I want to explain the significance of Kaiju Month. See, when I was a kid growing up, I liked two types of movies the best: horror movies and Kaiju movies. And me and my brother would watch Godzilla movies on end for hours whenever they showed them on TV. They showed three Godzilla movies, we watched three Godzilla movies. They showed four Godzilla movies, we'd watch four Godzilla movies. How many they showed, we'd watch. There was one movie in particular, well, there are two movies, Godzilla movies, we had on tape. The first one is the one where I'm reviewing tonight, which is the one we had when we were little kids, like up to the age of 8, which is Son of Godzilla. Now, we wore this tape out. We probably watched it 1,000 times. Now, for those who aren't aware how tapes worked, the VCR read kind of a tape that was in the tape, and it would split, and you'd have to fix it with Scotch tape to put the tape back together. Our version had at least a dozen places where Scotch tape was fixed on it. We wore it out that much watching it. Later on, we got Godzilla Raids again, but we didn't like that one as much. But as I said, we later watched it whenever it was on TV. Whether it was in Japanese and subtitled or whether it was dubbed. Our version of Son of Godzilla was dubbed, which is very hard to find nowadays on DVD. The version I watched tonight was dubbed. I think the version on Pluto is also dubbed. So we wore this tape out. Now my older brother has passed on. But I still watch Godzilla. I still love Godzilla movies. And I've shown them to my nephew, and he loves Godzilla movies. So I'm passing it on to him. I've also shown him Ultraman, which he also loved as a child. So tonight's special feature is, as you can guess, Son of Godzilla. Now, this movie is the touching tale of a baby who is abused a bunch, and the men in his life who just want to change the weather. Now, we start out with a plane getting some interference from in the direction of a small island called Selgar Island, or whatever, however it's pronounced, where Godzilla is apparently headed. Then we go to the island, where there is a research station, and they're trying to change the weather, and it doesn't work. But first, they meet a journalist who wants to document everything. And as I say, they try to change the weather. That is what they are running, a weather-changing experiment to control the weather. But it doesn't work, and they accidentally release a nasty, how do they put that? Not nuclear, radioactive storm on the island with crushing heat, crushing rain, and they mutate the animals. Well, they're already monsters on the island, but they make them even bigger, even scarier monsters. But the journalist, Goro, swears he saw a woman before the radioactive storm, and there was a woman, and we will later meet the woman. Now they're going out, checking everything out, trying to fix everything, when Goro and one of his comrades run into the gigantic praying mantises digging in the earth, and they unveil an egg, which they beat on till it hatches. and out pops what they claim looks like a baby Godzilla. I claim it looks like a turkey with a tail. Now, the praying mantises continue to beat up the baby Godzilla, so Godzilla shows up on the island and wrecks everybody's shit. He takes out the two of the three praying mantises, and the third one flies away. And the baby Godzilla is like, meh, 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 meh. That's the exact noise it makes, and it is really annoying. So you want this thing to get the crap beat out of him. I didn't as a kid, but as an adult, I just want to see this thing get abused throughout the entire movie. So Godzilla lets him ride on his tail as they wander away. But Goro, in his haste to run, falls into the cave where we meet the island girl he found earlier, Rico. And they become friends, and he introduces them to the survey team. The research team. And they decide to move all the research equipment into Rico's cave for safekeeping. Because Godzilla, as I said earlier, wrecked their shit. Now we see some other stuff with them. Now, the research team comes down with a high fever. So Rico says the only way to get rid of the fever is to go to the red warm water near Godzilla and his son. Now, first, I got some questions about Godzilla and his son. How did Godzilla lay an egg and breed? We never see a second Godzilla, so we don't know if there is one. We don't know if Godzilla's even lay eggs. I mean, we assume he does since he's a reptile. And so is Godzilla a male? Is Godzilla a female? Why did Godzilla bury the egg? Maybe the baby was supposed to hatch on its own and then be on its own. Does Godzilla produce asexually, like he just like spawns an egg out of himself every once in a while, and poof, there's another Godzilla? Is it immaculate conception here? None of this stuff is explained throughout the movie. So they move the stuff into a cave, and the researchers get sick, and they go to red water. Now the problem is there's a spider which they try not to wake up. Giant spider. So they get to red water, and they heal the researchers. And Rico goes out the next day looking for herbs because the professor got shot. There's a one researcher in his delirium with fever accidentally fired a gun and shot a professor. Rico gets injured, and a giant praying mantis is about to eat her, but baby Godzilla shows up, unable to do even the least amount of fighting. Now, here's another thing I want to bring up. Most animals are pretty much developed when they're born. I mean, they can fight, they can walk, they can defend themselves. They can do pretty much all the things adult animals can do when they're born. Baby Godzilla seems capable of none of this. He doesn't seem capable of walking when he's first born. He's definitely not capable of defending himself. I mean, he doesn't seem capable of the least bit of anything. He seems completely dependent on Godzilla for everything. That is not at all like an animal in the wild. It's more like a human, and Godzilla is definitely not human. Godzilla is a Godzillasaurus. Or if we listen to King Kong versus Godzilla, he's a combination of Tyrannosaurus Rex and Stegosaurus. I'm questioning way too much into a goddamn children's movie. So, anyways, he rescues Rico. Godzilla shows up, kicks the praying mantis' ass. And they get the radio working. But not before someone wakes up the giant spider. And so the giant spiders come for them. Now, luckily, Goro's got a lighter on him, which heat is the only way to break the spider's webs. So the spider, they get away from the spider, but baby Godzilla doesn't. He gets webbed to the ground, and a praying mantis gets webbed to the ground, and the spider kills the mantis. And the spider's about to kill baby Godzilla when big Godzilla shows up. Papa, Mama Godzilla, whatever Godzilla is. I don't see genitalia on Godzilla, so I don't know what Godzilla is. Whatever Godzilla is, non-binary Godzilla shows up to take him out. Now this time, the cave is caving in, so they decide to change the weather one last time, make it snow, so the monsters will freeze so they can get out of there. They radio for help. There's already a ship coming. The people successfully altered the weather, making it snow. Godzilla and baby Godzilla defeat the spider, and people are getting away. And it ends with Godzilla, non-binary Godzilla, hugging baby Godzilla in the snow as the people are floating away on their raft, getting saved by submarine. And that is the end of the movie. There are a whole lot of questions I've asked during this movie that will never be answered. And there's a whole lot of stuff I skipped going over in this movie that doesn't even need to make sense in this movie. So, this movie is available on Pluto TV. It's available on Max. Check it out. Watching it as an adult, watching it as a kid, I kind of rooted for Baby Godzilla. Watching it as an adult, I kind of root for Baby Godzilla to get hurt. Because he is annoying as hell. I give this movie 12 out of 10 stars. Check it out. It's on Pluto TV and Max. Next week, we're doing Oregon Trail, one of my favorite movies that I've seen that came out in 2022.